Needed to do some welding about a week ago with the SA200. Put a battery in, hit the starter button, click. Check the connection, check the battery, click. Couldn't get it to turn over. Reached out to a friend, he said, you know, those have the Chevy style solenoid and sometimes you got to give them a little bit of a wrap. So open up the side, sure enough, good connections here. Everything was the way it should be. Took a little wrench, tapped it on the side, fired right up. Those contacts have a tendency to get corroded, especially if this thing is kind of left out. And that's the lesson I learned, is I was getting a no start situation because the contacts were corroded. We've got to have that good connection, otherwise we get this no start situation. You hit the button and there's no response. In our devotional today, we kind of find the same situation, is that there's no response. If you read the entire text, it's rather interesting. It says here in Matthew 11:16, it says, "But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It's like children sitting in the market and calling for their fellows and saying, we have piped and you have not danced. We have mourned unto you and you've not lamented." So the Lord's saying this generation here is non-responsive. We're reaching out and we're doing things like miracles and things, and you're not responsive. The button is being pushed and there's no response. When I take a look at this today, I see that this is very relevant to today. We find ourselves in a situation to where when our country or when our life is in turmoil and we want people to pray, we're very, very tuned in to what God's going to do. But once He answers the prayer, once the situation is removed, we get back to living life in the flesh, living to the God of Mammon and not the true and living God. And what God is wanting is, He's wanting a connection with mankind. The problem is the contacts are corroded. We have let the world get into our lives. And you might say, well, you know, we're not completely ungodly, because if you go on, he goes on and he reads about Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, you could bring up Nineveh if you want to. God was rejoicing about Nineveh because they repented. They turned. When He hit the button, there was a response. But today, I'm afraid there's not much of a response. God is pushing the button, but our contacts are corroded. Well, how can that be? Well, maybe it is because the first thing we do in the morning is we pick up our phones. We check our notifications. We see what's on the Facebook marketplace. We see what's going on in the market. We see what the world's saying. And all of a sudden, not what God's saying. And you start your day like that, and you do that every day. After a while, you don't have an appetite for the things of the Lord, only the things of the world. And so what happens is your heart kind of gets a bit corroded, as it were, just like the contacts. Sometimes it takes a little wrap on the side. Maybe that's what this video is for you. It's just a little wrap on the side to get that corrosion to break up. Sometimes it takes a complete rebuild. God will bring us all the way down to bring us all the way back up. I'm not sure what it might take for you. I know in my life, the difficult times, even though I didn't like them, have been some of the best times for me in my life, because they have taken and stripped away all of the corrosion, all of the flesh, that I might be built up by the Spirit again. Folks, if I can't get any contact there, I'll never get any fire here. So it starts there and it ends up here. If I want to see God really working in my life, it's got to start early on in the morning. It's got to start early, Him getting my attention, that He might work all the way through the day, that I might be that light, that I might be that spark for someone else. May God richly bless you. I hope these videos are helpful to you. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.